तव कथामृतम् तप्तजीवनम् कविभिरीडितम् कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदाततम् भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः।
ओम तव कथामृतं तप्त जीवनम कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमंगलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना. We are studying the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna and we are in the conversations of April 9, 1887, and we pick up where we left. Narendra was again telling M about the master's love for him. English page 987. Bengali 1140. Narendra. How many times he prayed to the Divine Mother for my sake? How many times he prayed to the Divine Mother for my sake? After my father's death, when I had no food at home and my mother and sisters and brothers were starving too, the master prayed to the Divine Mother to give me money. This is something unknown. Because Thakur said, I can never pray for that. Why you do not pray? M. Yes, I know that. You once told me, Narendra, but I didn't get any money. The master told me what the Divine Mother had said to him. He will get simple food and clothing. So, that is one thing. And still, master had prayed for money. That Divine Mother did not agree. Because he has to renounce, he has to know the situation in the whole world. That is why he faced that poverty. He will eat rice and dal, pulses. Coarse rice, she had said. Simple food. He loved me so much. But whenever an impure idea crept into my mind, he at once knew about it. So he is a sharp barometer. Love does not mean attachment. Love does not mean that you support whatever the beloved has done. Love means in spite of that, you love him, but you tell him any mistake has happened. So the love does not mean that you can allow him to go down. That is Sri Ramakrishna's love. While going around with Annada Guha was one of his friends. Sometimes I found myself in the company of evil people. On those occasions, the master could not eat any food from my hands. He could raise his hand only a little and could not bring it to his mouth. So the whole body was so much attuned to purity that not that he did not want to eat. He wanted to eat, but he could not bring his food hand further. So it's unique master we are dealing with. On one such occasion, while he was ill, he brought his hand very close to his mouth, but it did not go in. He said to me, you are not yet ready. So, in spiritual life, one passes only by 100%. But if you do not get that, you will get grace from him. Now and then I feel great skepticism. At Baburam's house, it seemed to me that nothing existed, as if there were no such thing as God. Hmm. So one has to pass through skepticism to come to the final enlightenment. The master used to say that he too had passed through that mode. Hmm. So, dark night of the soul, the Christians call it. Both M and Narendra remained silent because of that thought. Then M said, "You are all indeed blessed. You think of the master day and night. That is blessed." Narendra, but how little it is. We think of the master very little. We don't yet feel like giving up the body because we haven't realized God, as Sri Ramakrishna had felt. So that position has not yet come in us. So Master Mashai would feel they're blessed and they would feel they're yet to travel a lot. That is the always happens in spiritual life. The sincere aspirant is never satisfied with the progress he has made, though in others' eyes he must have made a rapid progress. So that conversation is over. It was night. Niranjan had just returned from Puri. The members of the Math and M greeted him with great joy. Niranjan was telling them his experiences. He was then about 25 years old. The evening worship was over. Some of the brothers were meditating, but many of them assembled in the big hall around Niranjan. They were talking. After 9 o'clock, Shashi offered food to the deity. The members of the Math finished their supper, which consisted of homemade bread. He means roti or chapati. Because everything they make is homemade only. That purchasing ready-made food. So here homemade bread I said, because instead of bread, it is chapati, roti, poli, a little vegetable and a little hard molasses. Molasses jaggery. It is sometimes liquid, sometimes solid, sometimes a little hard. So that molasses was available. So that day is over. Saturday, May 7, 1887. So from April 9, we jump to May 7. It was the full moon day of the month of Vaishak. That is Buddha Purnima. Narendra and M were seated on a coach in M study in Calcutta. So Narendra had gone to M study in Calcutta. They were talking. Just before Narendra's arrival, M had been studying The Merchant of Venice, Comus, and Blackish self-culture, which he taught at school. So that's just an information. Narendra and the other brothers of the monastery were full of yearning for God realization. A fire of intense renunciation raged in their hearts. Narendra, I don't care for anything. You see, I am now talking with you, but I feel like getting up this minute and running away. That is the hankering for God. One does not accept any other thought. One does not bear any other thought. Narendra sat in silence a few minutes. Then he said, I shall fast to death for the realization of God. That is good. One can do anything for God. So he encourages that. So in Bengali, lot of other description is there that is skipped in English. We are on 1142, last few lines in Bengali. I looked into Bengali because I knew there is a question mark there. That is, I shall fast to death for the revelation of God. The correct translation will be, shall I fast unto death for revelation of God? And so Master Mahasaya says, that is good, you do it. So it was in the question form. Master Mahasaya being senior, Narendra is seeking his advice on that point. Narendra, but suppose I cannot control my hunger, fasting unto death, and God is not yet realized, and hunger is not controlled, then what shall I do? Now Master Mahasaya gives a very practical solution. And then eat something and begin over again. So, clear? If you cannot control hunger, then eat something and again do fast up to death. So the spirit of hankering for God relation will be maintained and the hunger will be appeased. Narendra remained silent a few minutes. He is thinking. Narendra, it seems there is no God. I pray so much, but there is no reply, none whatsoever. So how to maintain the faith that God exists? How many? Now, very important thing. Narendra telling he is not seeing God does not mean he is not seeing visions. But his mind tells him clearly, this is not God vision. So that let us hear. Naren says, how many visions I have seen? How many mantras shining in letters of gold? How many mantras? Rishi is called mantra drashta. And Narendra has seen several mantras shining in gold. But he has not realized God. So all these visions do not carry any value in his mind or in the world. If one attains a little, some vision, one becomes a Mahatma, starts preaching others and causes his own downfall. But Naren is a pure sadhaka. How many visions of the goddess Kali? So goddess Kali, but in different forms. How many? So what more you want? No, that is not the absolute reality. So see, Narendra's mind, visions of goddess Kali, how many? But that does not satisfy him. When Thakur first got the vision of Kali, he fell into Nirvikalpa Samadhi, and that is why it satisfied him to some extent. How many other divine forms? So limitless. Limitless, this sentence, Narendra's realizations, and yet the clear discriminative mind tells him this is not the ultimate. But still I have no peace. Will you kindly give me 6 pice? I asked. Narendra asked for the money to pay his carriage hire to the Baranagar. They were doing tapasya in Baranagar. He has come to Master Masha's house. And so, to go back, he will require 6 pice. Narendra asked for the money to pay his carriage fare to the Varanagar Math. Just then, Sat Kodi arrived in a carriage. Sat Kodi Lahiri was Narendra's classmate. And he had good friendship or love for Narendra. Satkari, Sat Kodi is the name. You could have put a O there, Sat Kodi. Arrived in a carriage. Of the same age as Narendra, he dearly loved the members of the monastery. He lived near the Math and worked in Calcutta. So he had come to Calcutta. The carriage was his own. Narendra returned the money to him. He did not want even 6 pice. See, that is the spirit. Once I have taken, let it remain with me. It will use sometime. That is not the spirit of a sannyasi. Narendra returned the money to him and said that he would go with Satkadi in his carriage. He asked them to give them some refreshments. So need he is asking clearly. Not need, not even store. See, that is sadhu. If something is need of the body, that he asks. Give them. That means to Satkodi also. M accompanied the two friends to the Varanagar Math. So M also went with that carriage. He wanted to see how the brothers spend their time and practice sadhana. He wanted to see how Shri Krishna the Master was reflected in the hearts of the disciples. That is the main thing, continuation of Leela. And that is why this, after the passing away, is included in the main part of the Gospel in English. Niranjan was not at the mat. He had gone home to visit the mother, the only relative he had in the world. Baburam, and for her, he had served and got some money. Baburam, Sharad and Kali had gone to Puri. They intended to spend a few days there for tapasya. So, because he has reached Baranagar Math, who are there, who are not there, he is describing for our sake. Narendra was in charge of the members of the monastery. Prasanna had been practicing austere sadhana for the past few days. That is Sarada Prasanna. He was called as Prasanna by Sri Ramakrishna and his disciples. Prasanna had been practicing austere sadhana for the past few days. Once Narendra had told him of his desire to fast to death for the realization of God. During Narendra's absence in Calcutta, Prasanna had left the monastery for an unknown destination. When Narendra heard about it, he said to the brothers, "Why did Raja allow him to go? Rakhal Maharaj is supposed to be president, he is supposed to be head over everybody. Why allowed him to go?" But Rakhal had not been in the monastery at that time, having gone to the Dakshineshwar temple for a stroll. At that time he escaped. Narendra, just let Raja come back to the monastery. I shall scold him. Why did he allow Prasanna to go away? To Harish. I am sure you were lecturing him then, standing with your feet apart. Couldn't you prevent his going away? So Narendra is pained because in his absence this has happened. He is responsible for everybody. Harish replied in a very low voice. He was not reacting. Huh? Brother Tarak asked him not to go, but still he went away. So somebody in absence of Raja Maharaj did act. And the senior most among them was Mahapurush Maharaj, Tarak. So he had asked him, Narendra to him, "You see what a lot of trouble I am in. Here too, I am involved in a world of Maya. Who knows where this boy has gone?" Rakhal returned from Dakshineshwar. Bhavanath had accompanied him. Narendra told Rakhal about Prasanna's going away from the monastery. Prasanna had left a letter for Narendra. This was the substance of the letter. I am going to Vrindavan on foot. It is very risky for me to live here. Here my mind is undergoing a change. Formerly, I used to dream about my parents and other relatives. Then I dreamt of woman, the embodiment of Maya. I have suffered twice. I have to go back to my relatives at home twice. Therefore, I am going far away from them. So that is his resolve. The master once told me, "Your people at home are apt to do anything. Never trust them." So that is all his spirit. Rakhal said, These are the reasons for his going away. Once he remarked, Narendra often goes home to look after his mother, brother, and sisters, and he supervises the family's lawsuit. I am afraid that I too may feel like going home following his example. So Rakhal conveys Narendra is responsible. Narendra remained silent because that was absolutely needed, so he was going. Rakhal was talking to them about making pilgrimages. He said, "We have achieved nothing by staying here. The Master always exhorted us to realize God. Have we succeeded?" Rakhal lay down out of that dispassion. The other devotees were either lying down or sitting. Rakhal, let us go to the Narmada. Omkareshwar are banks of Narmada. Narmada is known as the river of Vairagya. So these brothers are attracted to that place. Narendra, what will you achieve by wandering about? Can one ever attain jnana? That you are talking about it so much. Achha, strong language. A devotee. Then why have you renounced the world if you cannot attain jnana? So they are very free with each other. Narendra. Must we live with Sham because we have not seen Ram? So that is his main argument. We may not have realized God, but does not mean we will live like worldly people. If you do not get Ram, we do not want to live with Sham. The meaning is that if we have not attained God, we do not want to live in the worldly life. So we are sannyasis. He explains, must we go on begetting children because we have not realized God? What are you talking about? Hmm. So Narendra is very clear. Narendra went out. Returning after a few minutes, Rakhal was still lying down. A member of the monastery who was also lying down said teasingly, sometimes imitating, sometimes Vairagya, feigning great suffering on account of his separation from God. Ah, please get me a knife. I have no much use for this life. I can't stand this pain anymore. So they were having that renunciation, but not up to this point. So Narendra feigning seriousness. It is there. Stretch your hand and take it. Everybody laughed. So the difference between full renunciation and a little imitation of renunciation. The conversation again turned to Prasanna. Narendra, even here we are involved in Maya. Why have you become sannyasis, I wonder? Rakha, I have read in a book that sannyasis should not live together. The author has described a city of sannyasis. Shashi, I don't care about sannyas or any such thing. There is no place where I cannot live. So he is bent upon master seva, that's all. Wherever I can live. So all of them have their own individual approaches towards God. All of them have common renunciation and hankering for God, but the expressions are different in different brothers. They were talking of Bhavanath, whose wife had been seriously ill. Naren said to Rakhal, I understand that his wife has been snatched from the jaws of death. Is that why he went to Dakshineshwar? To enjoy the fresh air? Hmm. To take wife there, to because of change of climate may help it. Rambabu intended to build a temple in the garden at Kapurgachi, where some of Sri Ramakrishna's ashes were buried. We know that. Narendra to Rakhal. Rambabu has made M one of the trustees of the garden. M to Rakhal. But I don't know anything about it. So without telling him, he has made that trustee. It was dusk. Shashi burnt incense before the picture of Sri Ramakrishna in the worship room and then before the pictures of gods and goddesses in the other room. The evening worship began. The members of the Math and the other devotees stood with folded hands near the door of the shrine and witnessed the arati. Then they all sang in chorus the following hymn to Shiva. So first arati was waved and then singing to the accompaniment of bell and gong. Jai Shiva Omkara, Bhaja Shiva Omkara, Brahma Vishnu Sada Shiva, Hara 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 Mahadev. Narendra had introduced this song for the evening worship. It is sung in the temple of Shiva in Banaras. So that adopted. Afterwards, Narendra composed Sri Ramakrishna's Arati. It was 11 o'clock at night when their supper was over. So quite late there. In between they meditated. The brothers prepared a bed for him and all went to sleep. It was midnight. M was wide awake. He said to himself, everything is as it was before. The same Ayodhya, only Rama is not there. So Rama went to forest. Ayodhya remained same without Rama. M silently left his bed. It was the full moon night of Vaishak, the thrice blessed day of the Buddhist. Buddha was born on that day. He got his illumination on that day and he passed away on that day. So it is called the thrice blessed day. Associated with Buddha's birth, realization and passing away. M was walking alone on the bank of the Ganges, contemplating the master. Now, so it is next day now, 8th May. It was Sunday. That is next day, 8th May. M had arrived the day before and was planning to stay till Wednesday. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 5 days he wanted to spend in the Math, in the company of the Vairagi sadhus. The householder devotees generally visited the monastery on Sunday. So Sundays other people would also come. The Yoga Vasishtha was being studied and explained. M had heard a little about the teachings of this book from Sri Ramakrishna. It taught the absolute identity of Brahman and the soul and the unreality of the world. The master had forbidden him and the other householder devotees to practice spiritual discipline following the method of the Advaita Vedanta, since the attitude of the oneness of the soul and God is harmful for one still identified with the body. So, householders should form some other means. For such a devotee, the master used to say, it was better to look on God as the Lord and oneself as his servant. The conversation turned to the Yoga Vasishtha. M. Well, how is Brahmajnana described in the Yoga Vasishtha? Rakha. Hunger, thirst, pain, pleasure, and so on are all Maya. The annihilation of the mind is the only means to the realization of Brahman. That is how Yoga Vasishtha describes it. M. What remains after the annihilation of the mind is Brahman. Is that not true? Rakhal, yes. M. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that Nagpur taught him that way. Have you found in the book that Vasishtha asked Rama to lead a householder's life? And that is the Yoga Vasishtha Sar. Vasishtha Guru, Ram the disciple. Raka, I haven't yet found anything like that in the book. Rama is not even admitted by the author to be an incarnation of God. because Vasishtha is given the main importance and Rama is maybe an ideal ruler. Presently, Narendra Tarakananda devotee returned from the bank of the Ganges that intended to go to Konnagar on the other side of the river but had been unable to find a ferry boat. They sat down. The conversation about the Yoga Vasishtha went on. Narendra to him. There are many nice stories in the book. Yes, Yoga Vasishtha is all you may say Vedanta through stories. Do you know the incident of Leela? That is the one important character in Yoga Vasishtha. That girl sees many verbs, present, past, and simultaneously, like that, they are the stories. Holy Mother prescribed to some lady to read about Leela. Recently, yes, I have read the book here and there. Leela had attained Brahmatna. Narendra, yes. Do you remember the story of Indra and Ahalya and the story of how King Viduratha became a Chandal? So many stories are there. I don't remember these stories. Otherwise, I could have explained to you. Yes, I remember. So M has read a lot of Yoga Vasishtha, though Thakur has told him not practice according to Yoga Vasishtha. Narendra, what a wonderful description of the forest. Narendra and the other devotees were going to the Ganges to bathe. M accompanied them. The sun was very hot, so M took his umbrella. Sharat, a devotee from Baranagar, was going with them to take his bath. So this is not Sharat Maharaj. Sharat, a devotee from Baranagar, was going with them to take his bath. He often visited the monastery. M to Sharat, it is very hot. Narendra, is that your excuse for taking the umbrella? Because it is hot? You want to take the umbrella. So you are talking like that? M laughed. The members of the monastery were clad in gerwa. So Narendra never gave up his sense of humor. M to Narendra. It is really very hot. One is liable to get a sunstroke. Narendra. I see that your body is the obstacle in your path of renunciation. Isn't that so? I mean, you, Devendra Babu, they have renunciation, but body is not supporting them. M laughed and said to himself, is it merely the body or the mind is not yet ready? After bathing, the devotees returned to the monastery. They washed their feet and entered the worship room. Saluting the deity, they offered flowers. Narendra was a little late in coming to the worship room. He found that there was no flower on the tray. There were only a few bay leaves. He sprinkled the leaves with sandal paste and offered them to Sri Ramakrishna. So whatever was there, he did not say, why you have not kept for me. He rang the bell, saluted the deity again, rang the bell, a puja bell, saluted the deity again, and joined the other brothers in the big hall, which was known as the room of the Danas. Danas are accompaniments of Shiva, and all of them thought they're like ghosts of Shiva because of their tapasya. And so the room was called the room of Danas. The members of the Math called themselves the Danas and the Daityas, which mean the ghosts and the demons, the companions of Shiva. They took these names because of their utter indifference to worldly pleasures and relationships. So that is how Shiva is supposed to live. Absolute Tyagi, Shiva. The southernmost So Shiva is the deity of the sannyasi. The southernmost room of the second floor was used for meditation, contemplation and study, and was known as Kali Tapasvi's room. Kali Maharaj used to spend days and nights there. So Kali is Tapasvi and study was his main room. Since Kali used to shut himself in there most of the day, north of the room was the worship room, and north of that again was the room where the offerings for the worship were prepared. So one is called the preparatory room. From this room, the devotees used to watch the evening worship. So from this room, they used to see. Worship room was not huge. North of the offering room was the room of the danas, a very long hall where the members of the mutt used to assemble. Here the householder devotees and visitors were received. North of this hall was a small room where the devotees took their meals. East of the is describing all that for our visualization and meditation on the monk's life. East of the worship room and of Kali Tapasvi's room ran a long veranda, at the southwest corner of which was the library of a society of Varanagar. So the whole building was not given to the mud. Between Kali Tapasvi's room and this library was a staircase, and north of the dining room was another staircase leading to the roof. Narendra and the other members of the mutt often spent their evenings on the roof. There they devoted a great deal of time to discussion of the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna, Shankaracharya, Ramanuj and Jesus Christ, and of Hindu philosophy. So they were broad, as Thakur had told them. So Jesus Christ was not an alien to them, and they used to discuss his philosophy also. And Ramanuja was a Vishdadvaiti, but they studied all the different darshanas. Europe and of Hindu philosophy, European philosophy, the Vedas, the Puranas, and the Tantra. So they wanted to study all the different systems of thought so that they will find the truth in each of them. Narendra, who had a beautiful voice, used to sing in the room of the Danas and teach music to Sharad and a few others. So he used to sing and teach also in that very Dana's room. Kali used to take lessons on the instruments. Perhaps he means tabla, percussion instruments. Many happy hours they spent together in that hall, dancing and singing. So that the ecstasy of love also. Narendra was sitting with the devotees in the room of the Danas. The conversation turned to religious preaching. M. to Narendra. Vidyasagar says that he does not speak about God to anyone for fear of being caned. Narendra. For fear of being caned, what does he mean? M. This is what Vidyasagar says. Suppose that after death we all go to God. The emissaries of death will have sent Keshav Sen there too. Keshav Sen no doubt committed sins while he lived on earth. When that is proved, perhaps God will say, give him 25 stripes. Then suppose, Ishwar says, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Then suppose I am taken to God. I used to go to Keshav Sen's Brahma Samaj in my early life. I too have committed many sins, so I too am ordered to be killed. Then suppose I say to God that I acted in that sinful way because I listened to Keshav's preaching. Thereupon God will ask his emissaries to bring Keshav back. When he is brought, this is all imagination of Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. When he is brought, the Almighty Lord will say to him, did you really preach that way? You yourself knew nothing about spiritual matters, and yet you had the hardihood to teach others about God. Emissary, give him 25 stripes more on imagination that Keshav's teachings are not correct. Everybody laughed. That story is not yet complete. Therefore, Vidyasagar says, I cannot take care of my own self. Should I be foolish enough to get an additional caning for misleading others? I myself do not understand God. How shall I lecture to others about God? That is his position. But Narendra finds a great flaw in that thinking. Narendra, how has he, who could not understand God, understood other things? Without understanding the nature of God, there is no understanding of the world. That is Narendra's conclusion. What other things? Narendra. He says that he has not understood God, but how then can he understand charity and doing good to others? What is the rational basis of that charity? If everybody belongs to God, automatically we have that charity. How otherwise? How can he understand about this school? Why he should run this school? If God has not ordered him to do that? How can he understand about educating boys by establishing schools? How can he understand that it is right to enter the world, marry, and beget children? So Narendra's point is that first you have to know God to understand anything of the world. That is the thing. He who rightly understands one thing understands everything else. One thing is God there, rightly understands. To himself. Yes, Sri Ramakrishna too said that he who knows God knows everything else. Further, he said to Vidyasagar that leading a worldly life, establishing school, and so on are the outcome of Rajas. The master also said that Vidyasagar's philanthropy was due to the influence of Sattva on Rajas. Rajas, dynamism, activity, restlessness, main. But for others, that makes it Sattva. Such Rajas is not harmful. So that is about Vidyasagar. So religious preaching, that one should preach only after knowing God. Till then, keep quiet. After their meal, the brothers of the monastery rested. Said, and Chunilal were conversing. Chunilal told of his first visit to Sri Ramakrishna at Dakshineshwar. He also told him how at one time he had felt disgusted with the world, had renounced it, and had wandered about in holy places. A few minutes later, Narendra came and sat by them. He asked the younger Gopal to prepare a smoke for him. The latter had been meditating. Narendra said to him, sometimes joke, all that is there in Narendra. I say, prepare a smoke. What do you mean by this meditation? First of all, prepare yourself for spiritual life by serving God and holy men. Then you will be able to meditate. First of all, karma and then meditation. Everybody laughed because this was more in a joke. There was a big plot of wooded land to the west of the monastery compound. Was seated alone under a tree when suddenly Prasanna appeared. It was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Where have you been all these days? Everyone has been so worried about you. Have you seen the brothers? When did you arrive? Prasanna, just now. Yes, I have seen them. You left a note saying that you were going to Vrindavan. We were terribly worried about you. How far did it go? Prasanna, only as far as Konnagar, on the other side of the Ganges. Both of them laughed because he could not go up to that point. Sit down, tell me all about it. Where did you stop first? Prasanna, at the Dakshineshwar temple garden. I spent one night there. M smiling. What is Hazara's present mood? That worldly-minded man lived with Sri Ramakrishna, appeared spiritual, made business, so many things were there. So what is his present mood? Prasanna. Hazara asked me, what do you think of me? So that is his imposed thing like Thakur. Both laughed. M smiling. What did you say? Prasanna. I said nothing. M. Then Prasanna. Then he asked me whether I had brought tobacco for him. So all in imitation of Sri Ramakrishna. Both laughed again. Prasanna. He wanted me to wait on him. Laughter. M. Where did you go next? Prasanna. By degrees I got to Konnagar. I spent the night in the open. I intended to proceed further and ask some gentlemen whether I could procure enough money there for a railway ticket to this up-country, northern country, northern land within India. M. What did they say? Prasanna. They said you may get a rupee or so, but who will give you the whole fare? Both laughed. So it is not easy. M. What did you take with you? Prasanna. Oh, one or two pieces of cloth and a picture of the master. I didn't show the picture to anybody. That was my private property. His father came to the moon. So, what a life is being described by the Master Machaya. What a life, full of renunciation. Shashi's father came to the mutt. He wanted to take his son home. He wanted Shashi to go back to his home. During Sri Ramakrishna's illness, Shashi had nursed the master for 9 months with unswerving zeal. He had won a scholarship in the entrance examination for his academic ability and had studied up to the BA. But he had not appeared at the examination. His father, a poor Brahmin, was a devout Hindu and spent much of his time in spiritual practice. Shashi was his eldest son. His parents had hoped that after completing his education, he would earn money and remove the family's financial difficulties. So all hopes centered around them, and they were totally renunciation for the sake of God, as Thakur had taught them. But Shashi had renounced the world for the relation of God. Whenever he thought of his father and mother, he felt great anguish of heart because he loved them and he knew they loved him. Many a time he said to his friends with tears in his eyes, I am at a loss as to my duty. Alas, I could not serve my parents. I could not be of any use to them. What great hope they placed in me. On account of our poverty, my mother did not have any jewelry. I cherished the desire to buy some for her, but now all my hopes are frustrated. It is impossible for me to return home. The master asked me to renounce woman and gold. I simply cannot return home. So you understand the spirit of the sannyasis? He has every love and duty for the home, but a higher duty calls him, and then only he gives up all that. Not that he is a vagabond, not that he is an irresponsible person, not that he is not dutiful, but the higher call cancels all this. My master asked me to renounce woman and gold. I simply cannot return home. After Sri Ramakrishna's passing away, Shashi's father had hope that his son would come back to his family. For serving him is there. The boy had spent a few days at home, but immediately after the establishment of the new monastery, he had begun to frequent it and after a few days had decided to remain there as one of the members. So that is how all of them came to the mat. Every now and then his father came to the monastery to persuade him to come home, but he had not succeeded. This day, on hearing that his father had come, Shashi fled the monastery by another door. He did not want to meet him. Again and again, he is pressing. He has nothing to say, no, and yet he did not want to go. See the life and the mind and the complexity of that situation, how dilemma they feel. Shashi's father knew M. They paced the upper veranda together and talked. Shashi's father, who is in charge of this place? Narendra alone is the cause of all this mischief. For a while, all these young men returned home and devoted themselves to their studies. There is no master here. They are all equals. What can Narendra do? Can a man renounce home against his own will? So he is renouncing by his own will. Have we householders, for instance, been able to give up our homes altogether? Altogether means Master Mashai comes again and again. Shashi's father, you are doing the right thing. You are serving both the world and God. Can't one practice religion after your method? That is exactly what we want Shashi to do. Let him live at home and to come here too. You have no idea how much his mother weeps for him. M became sad and said nothing. How can he help that? Shashi's father. And if you speak of searching for holy men, I know where to find a good one. Let Shashi go to him. But Shashi knows that there is no person greater than Sri Ramakrishna in this world. Rakhal and M were walking on the veranda to the east of Kali Tapasvi's room. Rakhal earnestly, M, let us practice sadhana. We have renounced home for good. When someone says you have not realized God by renouncing home, then why all this fuss? Narendra gives a good retort. He says, because we could not attend Rama, must we live with Shama and beget children? Every now and then, Narendra says nice thing. You had better ask him, Narendra. M. What you say is right. I see that you too have become restless for God. Not only Narendra. Rakhal. M. How can I describe the state of my mind? All of them were like that. Today at noon time, I felt great yearning for the Narmada. M. Please practice sadhana, otherwise you will not succeed. Even Shukadeva was afraid of this world, the supreme Paramahamsa. That is why immediately after his birth, he fled the world. His father asked him to wait, but he ran straight away. M. Yes, the Yoga Upanishad describes how Shukadeva fled the world. So, lot of scriptures also M has read. Shukadeva fled the world of Maya. It also describes Vyasa's conversation with Shuka. Vyasa asked his son to practice religion in the world, but Shuka said that the one essential thing is the lotus feet of God. He also expressed his disgust with worldly men for getting married and living with women. Rakha. That is, M has described of this. Rakha. Many people think that it is enough not to look at the face of human. But what will you gain merely by turning your eyes to the ground at the sight of a woman? Narendra put it very well last night when he said, woman exists for a man as long as he has lust. Free from lust, one sees no difference between man and woman. That is a great thing. And how true it is. Children do not see the difference between man and woman. Rakha. Therefore, I say that we must practice spiritual discipline. How can one attain knowledge without going beyond Maya? Let's go to the big hall. Some gentlemen have come from Baranagar. Narendra is talking with them. Let us go and listen to him. M did not enter the room. As he was pacing outside, he overheard some of the conversation. Narendra. He did not want to disturb them. Narendra, there is no fixed time or place for Sandhya and other devotion. Gentlemen, sir, can one realize God through spiritual practice alone? Narendra, realization depends on God's grace. Shri Krishna says in the Gita, the Lord, O Arjuna, dwells in the hearts of all beings, causing them by his Maya to revolve as if mounted on a machine. Take refuge in him with all thy heart, O Bharata. By his grace wilt thou attain supreme peace and the eternal abode. So, surrender, Narendra is feeling and teaching. Without the grace of God, mere worship and prayer do not help at all. Therefore, one should take refuge in him. So everything succeeds only by the grace of God. We must have that spirit of surrender. Do sadhana, but with the spirit of surrender, depending fully on God, not by egoistic sadhana. Gentlemen, may we come now and then and disturb you? Narendra, please come whenever you like. We take our baths in the Ganges at your ghat. Gentlemen, I don't mind that. But please see that others don't use it because of you. Narendra, we shall not use your ghat if that is what you mean. Clear? Gentlemen, no, I don't mean exactly that. But if you see other people using it, then you had better not go. So they wanted to keep it reserved. Some sannyas is coming all right, but not others. It was dusk. The evening worship was over. The devotees, as usual, sang in chorus Jai Shiva Omkara. Dusk means evening here. Huh? Afterward, they assembled in the room of the Dana. M2 was seated there. Prasanna was reading from the Guru Gita. Narendra sang, I salute thee. We stop here today. Huh? So we shall take it up. Tomorrow is Wednesday. So we shall take it up on Thursday now. I think 995. How much you got today? Where were you last time? 986 you had finished. And 995 were halfway through. No, almost finished. So 9 pages. 9 pages. No, next week we shall finish it sometime or the other. And then we may leave 1 or 2 days if it comes to that. And the next week, that is 25th of September, we will like to start Bhagavad Gita with Shankar Bhashya. Till all those friends who may not be interested in the gospel, but many will be interested in Bhagavad Gita, Shankar Bhashya. So we have planned to start it on the 25th of September. Let us see when we complete the gospel, and we will leave 1 or 2 days if it comes to that. Om Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jivanam Kavivireeditam Kalmashapam Shravanamangalam Shrimadaatatam Bhui Grunanti Ye Bhuridajana Om Shanti 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 Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Well, let me have anyone. I don't want this. She. Okay. Oh, I have to close that.